Do you remember these films from the early 2010s? Well, they made a game for the second one, and it is abysmal.
Yeah, I'd rather die.
When I say that, you need to understand. IGN refused to rate it. Metacritic refused to rate it, and I decided to 100% it. I don't know what that says about me, but this was painful. I hope you enjoy this experience. The game immediately throws you into one of the worst voice-acted cutscenes I've ever heard, an art that looks like it was made by AI.
If you're here, it's because you know who I am.
Why does he sound like that? And why is the music so loud? The music and the voice are on the same amount of volume. There were definitely questionable frames in the cutscene, but that's not why we're here. When I finally got into the actual gameplay, I started to realize why this game might be rated so badly, just from the movement alone. It was like, what is this inflatable man? Look at him! That's what 85% nerve damage makes you move like. He just kind of floats around. We moved forward and finally got to see our character live up to his name, and we can have a look at what the combat in this game is actually like. I can play this game one-handed, chat. Look, hand here. I'm pressing one button. Right. I guess that's that area complete? Question mark. After almost 5 minutes of fighting the enemies, you can clearly see the combat in this game is essentially if someone took the Batman Arkham series, made it in Roblox, and reskinned it to a barely memorable movie from the early 2010s. But that doesn't stop me from 100%ing a game. So we soldiered through, fighting another group of enemies, picking them off one by one, where we were introduced to one side of the achievements that this game has to complete, crossing out the graffiti, which arguably makes it look worse. A yellow line through the middle. It looked better before. Graffiti destroyed? Bro, if anything, he made it worse. Like, look at this. That looked better without anything on it. The yellow just kind of ruined it. With one of 24 graffitis crossed out, we moved on, fought more goons, and had our way with one of them in the corner, because the slippery floor in this game just makes you do that sometimes. And after we finished them all off, we climbed a ladder to be greeted with an in-game cutscene where we get told to go through the garage to help the masked man that's under attack. Shorting out this yellow box with a taser would 100% work every time. It opened up the garage door, opening our way forward to get to the goths in the basketball court. This is the point where I vowed not to watch any more cutscenes in this game. As I entered the garage, this is what played. Okay, right, we're skipping every single cutscene from here on, because... what? Yeah. But we move on from that, beat up the dudes in the garage to get through to the other side, tasing another yellow box, and then carried on beating up more people, finding another part of the side achievement. This time, a hotspot, where we have to find 14 different, very specific spots in the game where you can connect to Wi-Fi and use Weta. Carrying on to, you guessed it, another fight with a group of goons that have nothing to do with the story. Then making it down the ladder, and finally making it to the basketball court, ready to fight the goths and save the masked man. So I beat up my own kind and took out the final one with a smack to the nuts, and we got our first achievement for saving Dr. Gravity. Only 20 more achievements to collect. The second level was a whole lot of nothing. Fighting more goths in our 5-minute long fights, hopping over fences just to fight more goons and more goons and more goons. You get the picture. We opened up a few doorways by almost killing ourselves with a taser once again, leading us to a construction site where there was not only even more enemies that definitely didn't kill me, before we were shown an obstacle in our way. Great, a new mechanic for us to learn. At least that's what I thought. To turn it off, we just had to tase another goddamn yellow box. Nothing new at all, just overload a little bit of electricity in a stupid yellow box with a tiny ass taser, then having to use the same mechanic again to open another door, leading us to another little bit of graffiti for us to annihilate with our piss coloured paint. I think I need to drink more water. We beat up more goths on the rooftop, even more when we got down, and then were faced with a recreation of Crossy Road that we rolled on straight past with no issues, getting us another achievement for fighting our way through the goths to get to the subway entrance. Dredging our way through the musty pits of the New York subway, we found more enemies to kick the ass of, and found ourselves another graffiti to piss on. Getting down to the platform, there were yet again more enemies to send to the Shadow Realm. Making it past them to the next platform, we climb the stairs to fight some more, running across the train tracks to have some close quarters combat in some of the tightest tunnels known to man, gradually finding ourselves in an abandoned train cabin that looks like it'd be the habitat of a man like Cricket, tasing even more yellow boxes, fighting more fellas, and getting our third achievement for reaching the Goth's lair. Now, this is a boss fight that could rival some of the greatest. Melania has nothing on this. Zeus has nothing on this. Even Ganondorf couldn't compare. Jokes aside, I actually got my ass handed to me several times fighting this boss. But once I got the hang of it, I fucked him up harder than Masvidal versus Askren, and got ourselves the achievement for beating Black Death. This is where we're introduced to a new character to lead us through a chapter, Colonel Stars and Stripes, who tells us where we need to go. The game is more linear than anything I've ever played, so we just follow the arrows. It does, however, feel insanely empty, and I was thinking throughout these streams that you can catch at twitch.tv/Pantivist, by the way, why the game feels like this. Then I realized there are no NPCs that wander. The streets you roam are barren. Not a single passive NPC anywhere. So wandering around almost feels like you're lost all the time. We beat up a couple more groups of thugs, definitely not dying again to standard enemies. I'm definitely not that bad at this game. Hopping a fence to fight more and more enemies, climbing up a ladder to poke a box with our lead taser to open another gate, ending up in more 5-minute fights, and killing a guy with the power of telekinesis and flight. We ended up on a roof, finding a secret room of enemies that ended up having one of the hotspots that we were looking for. Making it through the last part of the level with only one group of enemies left, we got the achievement for crossing Chinatown. The next level actually felt like it lasted a lifetime. Part of that is due to the fact that I ended stream before finishing it the first time. Right, it saved there. It saved. I saw the autosave. We're done. The only highlight from that being that we managed to get another one of the hotspots that we needed and 2 of the graffitis. One that was hidden behind a meat storeroom and another just over a climbable fence. But what I will do is go through the second run of this level. I'll do it quick too. Climbed a ladder, beat up some dudes, got the hotspot again because apparently it didn't save. More dudes, hopped a fence, climbed a ladder, more dudes, zapped open a door, got the graffiti again. More dudes, graffiti, ladder, zap, another graffiti, more dudes, and we were out with another achievement for reaching Genghask Carnage's warehouse. This is where we were thrown into another boss fight against Genghask Carnage himself. This boss fight weirdly felt easier than the last, despite there being several of the bigger tankier enemies and some with guns surrounding him. And even the boss himself having a sword. We actually ended up beating this boss first try, and in doing so, we got ourselves another achievement. Starting the next level in the subway, we get a call from the Colonel, where he gets mugged or some shit. I don't know, it's awful voice acting. But we had to get to the Justice Forever headquarters, so that's where we started heading. Taking on a dude with a riot shield that was actually easier to beat than I thought. We passed through the subway yet again, beating up more dudes on the way, finding another graffiti to smear my piss on, before heading onto the tracks to find another hotspot. Back in the tunnels, we beat up more goths because they're back again, and found some more graffiti. This is the point in the run where I found out we could speed things up massively. You know all those fights we've done with random goons? Well, maybe like 3 of them were mandatory. The rest we could have just walked past and made it through. So from this point onwards, we kind of did that. But we did make it through the subway again and got the achievement for doing so. I immediately tried to just walk past the first group of enemies in this level, but just my luck, it's a mandatory fight. We have to beat them up to be able to hop the fence. So I took them out without an issue and carried on through the level, walking past enemies and locating another hotspot we can tick off our list. We swiftly moved on, opening doors and casually walking past more enemies, zapping more yellow boxes and pissing on more graffiti. Finally fighting another group of enemies to end the level and get us another achievement. Now that we're in the headquarters, I can start putting our Sonic technique to work and rolled past any enemy we came across. Grabbing us a graffiti in a hotspot and an achievement for eliminating all the enemies in the headquarters. But we didn't eliminate shit. Another boss fight though, Big Bertha herself, Mother Russia. A big burly Russian woman that could crush my head between her biceps. And this skinny little twig of a man is going to be beating her ass. I mean, look at this. Those are some big hits. He's just dogging on her. God Damn! I mean, it's me playing, but still, this little guy packs a punch. Beating her, though, we do get another achievement, surviving the clash with Mother Russia. But I did think we did more than just survive. You guys saw the footage. Thrown into the graveyard, we run past all of the enemies and find a graffiti and the hotspot, running past the police that are also now after us, apparently, and rolling more than a typical Dark Souls player past every enemy in the level and up to Tuma, who runs away like a little waste man. So we roll after him like the hedgehog we are. Getting a graffiti on the way, we make it out of the level, getting another achievement for making it across the cemetery. In the sewers now, we just keep rolling to make Fred Durst proud and pick up a graffiti tag and a hotspot. Ending up back in the depths of the subway, we find another graffiti before we glide our way to the end of the level and get another achievement. Reaching Central Park, we employ the same time-saving strategy that we've been using for a while. Roll. Cross out graffiti, connect to a hotspot to wheat out our thoughts, piss on another graffiti, and make it through without a scratch. Achievement achieved. Now that Tuma can't run away from us, we remove him from existence like a neurosurgeon with taser batons, taking out his goons along the way, and get the achievement for the fight in the process. Only 2 more boss fights until we finish the game. This level is just like the last. Sonic mode, yellow stain the graffitis, grab hotspots, make it through, a mandatory fight for once, beat them all up, achievement, and Mother Russia is back, with her arms bigger than my legs and traps of steel, and it's just a repeat of the last fight. She didn't stand a chance. I mean, this fight lasted a while, but that's because every enemy in this game is tankier than the Ebony Warrior. So we got the achievement for beating Mother Russia pretty easily. After this though, we're thrown into another mandatory fight that doesn't last too long, and also gets us an achievement for beating them, because these guys were the thugs for the final boss. And you'll never guess what's next. That's right, it's final boss time, Chris D'Amico. And honestly, the difficulty in this game doesn't change at all. The boss fight was just as easy as any other. We don't talk about that one. So once we hit him over and over and over again, we managed to beat him and his goons to get the final achievement for the story. Now it's time for us to backtrack, because we actually missed a lot of the graffiti and hotspots throughout. But luckily for us, the game did one thing right. It shows you how many graffitis and hotspots there are in each area, and how many of them you've got throughout your playthrough. So the cleanup was pretty easy. Just a rinse and repeat of our Sonic wannabe playstyle, and pissing on graffiti and connecting to hotspots over and over again, until finally, each of the achievements popped. That's it. Done. We 100%ed the worst rated game on Steam, and I will never do it again. I'm never, ever, ever, ever opening this absolute bullshit game ever again.